Broadcasting. Okay.
So welcome everyone. This is our TechNovation workshop on humanitarian data analytics. I'd like to introduce my colleague Greg Ogola. And please sit at the front. We have some room some space in the room. Greg and Fred and some colleagues back there, like Amanda, are going to show a tool that is very easy to use and that you can access from YCT, the Office of Information and Communication Technology, for all of your needs. And I give the floor to Greg.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jorge. So I want to welcome everyone. Welcome to the. Welcome. Come in.
Yes,
there's enough space. You don't need to.
I will take this chair because
okay. Oh, you prefer that? Okay. So my name is Greg Ogola from the Office of Information and Communications Technology in the Department of Management. And my team is responsible for the implementation of the self-service analytics data program. So what we try and do is we try and make analytics reachable to everyone else who is not IT. My job is to make sure that you never need me to come and help you to do your own visual analytics or build your own dashboards. So we have a series of programs under the TechNovation Talks every month where we try and just get data, simple data, and use it for you to be able to do some analytics and train yourselves, and we guide you through that training. So before I start, just a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to ask that each one of you, there are a few sign-in sheets going around, right? So please sign them so that we are able to track how many people came, and we can use this data later to communicate to you in case there's more information that we need. And secondly, I'd like to introduce some of my colleagues who will be helping with the training today. So Jorge already introduced himself. We have Fred. Fred is on the team, and Fred also helps with the building of dashboards. And as you can see today, I'm going to do most of the talking, and he's going to do most of the doing. On my left, at the corner there, we have Amanda and Karen in the BI team. Welcome. Just grab a seat wherever you can. And please sign in. There's a sign-in sheet there. As we go along, if you have any trouble, if you're not able to follow, or your screen doesn't show what is showing on the screen up in front here, then please just raise up your hand. And one of us, either Amanda or Karen, will walk around and try and see if they can help you to guide you through to solve whatever issue that you have. Okay? Yeah, with that, I think we're ready to start. Before we do that, are there any questions, any concerns, anything you'd like to get out of the way before we begin? We're all good? You better ask me questions because I ask questions. I just want to make sure
that I have enabled that tool.
Yes.
Last time I was trying to install, but I wasn't able to install that tool.
So, oh yes, that's one thing that I also need to mention. Did anyone have trouble installing Click? You were not able to install it at all?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a couple of our colleagues who might be able to walk around and help and see, because we need to install Click to continue to use the tool. Huh? So, and what about the data? Were you all able to download the data?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's from the link. The data is quite easy. If you are not able to, you can actually do it now. On the link from the unite.un.org/tech events, if you select the event, you're going to see the data links at the bottom. There are 2 files that would like you to download them. That's what we're going to use for the training today.
Where is it again?
If you go to unite.un.org/analytics, /tech events, not /analytics. Unite.un.org/tech events. Maybe Fred, you can show that on the screen. Huh? So, and under that there's the self-service data analytics course. Huh?
It's just one CSV file, right?
There's a CSV file, but there's another file beyond that, right?
Yes, there's
two files.
File, I think.
There's a text file. Huh? The text file will also need it so that you don't have to type in a long URL. Huh? Okay, do you see the two files? Just download those two files. Huh? Okay.
Is the Click desktop sufficient?
Yes, actually it's Click desktop that we're going to be using. Yeah?
I don't know what you mean now.
We'll have someone to help you. Huh? Okay.
The internet is too slow and it's tough.
It's a slow connection.
Yeah, just keep and rotate you. I'm not able to download the page at all.
Okay. Oh, so please come on in. Welcome. For those of you who have just come in, welcome. What we're doing now is please grab a sheet and sign in. And then you can open your laptops and turn on Click if you have already installed it. If you had not downloaded the data files, you have them on the screen.
No.
The link that you should go to and where to download from. The data files that we're going to be using for the training today.
Are they the same files?
They're just two files, yes. No, they're not the same. You download both of them. One is just a single line of text. The second one is just one line. I'll explain to you later where we use it. Are they able to?
Service.
That's the only one we have.
Data.
Okay. Trouble with the laptop?
Analytics.
Okay. Let me know when most of you are done with that so that we can go on. I don't want to move too fast, but let's keep in mind that we have 1.5 hours. Huh?
Where is that? Oh, here? Last time we tried.
Okay, as most of you are still making sure that you have the data files and the program, do we have people here who have used the application called Click before? Do we know what it is?
No.
Well, that's one of them, right? The one we're using today is called Click Sense. Can anyone explain to me what it is? We're going to be doing Click today, so.
It makes the data look pretty. Makes you able to
yes,
show
yes. 100%. It makes the data look pretty. Okay? That's a good definition. Okay? It's a data visualization and analytics platform. Okay? So when we start, what we're going to do is we downloaded some humanitarian data. We went to the Relief website, and we just downloaded the data that shows crises that happened in different countries and different organizations that were reporting on this crisis. Okay? So we're going to show you the spreadsheet, and then we're going to show you how to make it pretty.
Just from people that are watching online, they said, yes, it is a business analytics tool used for visualizations.
Yes, that's also correct. A business analytics tool used for visualizations. Okay, and really, if there's one thing I want you to get from here when you leave, is the word drag and drop, right? So you're going to do everything drag and drop. You might have to type 1 or 2 sentences here and there, but mostly it's drag and drop. So it's very easy. Goal is to try and make data looking pretty easy and accessible to everyone. All right. Okay. Shall we have a look at the data? Have you been able to download it?
Yes.
Let's have a look at the CSV file, the spreadsheet. So what do we have? this is a file we downloaded from the, as I said, Relief Web, right? And it has, I think, about data records that are showing from different sources or different organizations about some crisis that happened in a particular country. So what it does is, one of the columns is, the first one is just the index, meaning a count of all the records themselves. The second column there shows the country where the particular crisis that is being reported was based. And the third one is something called ISO 3. Yeah? We're not going to use that today, but does anyone know what the ISO 3 code is? Have you ever come across this term, ISO 3 code?
Country code.
That's a country code, but you know what it means? So in general, when you're talking about countries, when you're trying to describe countries, sometimes they might be spelled differently depending on where you're doing it from, right? Or sometimes someone might, I mean, some places you might find like a country at Republic of before or after. So it becomes very difficult to get the accurate name of all countries. So what this does is that it has a 3-letter, there are different kinds of ISO codes, but there's a 3-letter code for each country that is standard and unique, such that if you use that code instead of the country name, then you're never going to get it wrong. In some places, when you do some mapping, it might not reference if the spelling is spelled a bit differently in countries. That's just for you to know, but we're not going to work with that today. Next, we have the categories. So when they were putting in, when they were compiling the data, there was a list of categories of crisis that they put in there, just to be able to, almost like a heading, of what particular thing that they were talking about. For example, people in need and others as well. Then we have a date, right? And for each crisis, we have a number which signifies what is the population that was affected by this particular crisis that's being reported on. Okay? As I said before, we have the report source, meaning the organization that was reporting on whatever the crisis is. And finally, there's an actual link to each one of those reports that goes back to the Relief Web site, where they give more details about what this particular crisis record that was being reported on is about. Okay? So that's the data that we're going to look at. Okay? So here is, imagine you've been given this spreadsheet, okay? And right now you have figures, you have numbers, you have dates. It's kind of very hard to get a feel of what this data is, or what happened, or which places are more affected than others, and things like that. That's what we're going to try and do today. Yeah? All right? Any questions?
No.
Everyone has the data file?
No.
Where does it come from?
Okay, so let's put that up again just before we go. So if you go to the unite.un.org/tech events, and then self/service/data/analytics, you will come to the page that's talking about what we're doing today. That's the TechNovation webpage for today. Eh? And then from there at the bottom, under related links, that's where you find the data for the training. Eh? And what I've just talked about is this first one. There is also a second file, which when you download, you'll see it's just one line. We're going to use that text when we're doing the maps. Huh? You don't worry about that right now. I'm going to explain it later. Okay? Who's ready to start click? Do I have a majority? In this training, we're going to go with majority. Huh? So if you tell me to go, I'll go. If you tell me to stop, I'll stop. Shall we go?
Yes.
All right, let's fire up click.
And it's not sending me the download link.
It doesn't send a download link. You should download it automatically. Yeah? We have a file. Huh? Do you have the click install? Yeah. Well, we already have it downloaded. So if you'd like, yeah, you can just install it from there. Okay.
3 minutes to download.
Really slow. Really slow, and I don't know what to download.
Because you don't have an account. And if you don't have an account, you have to register instead of logging in.
Okay, for those of you who are fine, just open Click and start looking through the Click application. So as we wait for the others to download, maybe I can just give you a really quick overview of the Click application itself. So let's just put it on screen. All right. So when you start Click, you might see a different screen from what I have here. Each one of these little icons, well, they're not so little, represents an application that you have developed, that you have designed. Is normally called the ClickSense Desktop Hub, right? This page is actually called the Hub. So later on, as you start using it more and more, and someone tells you go to the Hub, this is what they mean. Huh? Okay, you see, you've already learned something, just like that. Huh? Just with one sentence. This is the Hub, all right? Now, in order for you to navigate, there's a navigation menu. Huh? So the one that you're going to mostly be using, especially when you get to the Hub, is either to create a new app, or this is how you can basically organize them, either in a different format, and here is how they're going to be shown, either as tiled icons or as individual icons, just show one by one. This is just helps you to view. Huh? Okay. In our case, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a new application. Huh? All right, because we want to start something new. Huh? Okay, so shall I go on?
Yes.
All right, so let's create a new application. Click on Create New Application. All right, do you see that little dialog at the middle of the screen that says Create New App? First thing it wants you to tell it is, what do you want to call this application? We're going to just say humanitarian data, yeah? Or you can call it whatever you want, as long as you remember later. Okay? You don't need to put the underscore, it might confuse. We just put the underscore because we want you to show faster. Yes, but you don't, yeah. Humanitarian data or whatever. It doesn't, your best place to decide the name for your application. And once you click, once you give it a name, then you click on Create. We're still moving a little slowly so that the ones who haven't caught up can still do fast. Catch up.
It's not downloading. It's super slow.
Okay, just keep trying. Yeah. I guess the Wi-Fi here is not.
No, it's not that speed. It's the upgrade.
Oh, you're upgrading. Huh? All right, but just follow anyway. I think it's simple enough that you'll be able to click through the steps once you catch up. All right, so let's click on the Open the application. We have created it.
Yes.
For most of you, have you already created it successfully?
Yes.
Do you have the successful sign?
Yes.
Yep.
Normally, if you're dealing with software and you see the word successful or you see green, it gives you a good feeling, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's open the app. Are there any questions online?
No.
Okay. For all of you watching online as well, if you have any questions, just put them on and we'll answer them as we find them. Huh? Someone's monitoring that as well. Okay. So when you open an application for the first time, your application needs data. It needs data that it's going to be able to turn into graphs, into bar charts, into line charts, into maps. And if it doesn't find the data because it's the first time you're opening the app, you will get the screen that asks you to add your data. Okay? And this is a place where I said that if you remember anything about this class, you remember what word? Drag and drop. Okay? So we're going to start dragging and dropping right now. So where did you store your file? You remember the file, the data file? The Relief Web data file?
Yeah.
Where did you store it? In your My Documents?
Desktop.
Desktop, wherever it is, right? So whatever it is, you just get it, and you drag, and you drop it in there. Drop it right in the center of the screen. Okay? And as soon as you drag and drop, the application automatically opens the file and gives you this screen that is actually showing you your data. Okay? So generally, you just want to have a quick look just to make sure that your data, the columns are fine, and it's starting from the top record. In case there were spaces, you don't need to worry about. There's a series of different drop-down boxes here that help you configure how you're going to import, in case you had some extra breaks in the line or an extra title that's not supposed to be part of the data, right? But the things to confirm are that the columns, especially the column headings, correspond to what you had on your spreadsheet before. So can we claim the spreadsheet just one more time and just place it close by here so we can confirm whether, just drag the spreadsheet, the CSV file, and just put it below so that you can see whether they're right? So you remember that we had the index country, ISO 3, category, report date, affected. That looks similar to what we have here. So this is just for you to kind of establish that you are importing the correct data. All right? This is important. If they don't have the same column names, then it's going to be hard for you to pick the columns that you need to build the graphs later on.
It has to be a CSV file that drag and drop?
No, it doesn't need to be a CSV file. It can be a text file, it can be an Excel file, or if you want to get more complicated, you can actually get it directly from a database, SQL, ODBC. You can actually go onto the web. You've heard of what people call like APIs, REST APIs, and JSON feeds. It can be really complicated. And there are even connectors that make you get it from more complicated systems like SAP, and other enterprise systems. We're using CSV because it's generally a very easy file that most people have right now. Okay?
Greg, you're going to show them the other way, right? Because it's not working for the drag and drop.
They have the...
It goes to the add initialization, so you might want to show the longer way, right?
Yeah, but we haven't even gotten to that stage yet.
Okay.
We're still, when they add data is when it might be different.
Yeah, because they might have to add data.
That's fine. No problem.
Okay, so just wait.
But what I want is for everyone to confirm that, well, most of us to confirm that they're able to get to this screen and they see something similar to what we see here. Are we alone or? I'm way back. You'll catch up. Okay?
Yeah.
You're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Just you?
Sorry?
Just you.
I think my neighbors also, they're getting the data, so.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to start. The drag and drop is a start.
Okay. Yeah. There are different drag and drop is the easy way, but there are different ways to connect the data.
Show them the other way.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's import the data, and if your screen doesn't look like what we see here, because there are different versions of Click, they keep updating the versions to make it even easier every 3 months. Yeah. Let's import the data, and then we'll go through the other ways in which you can import data. Okay. So if you're on this screen, just click on the little green. Well, it's not that little. The button at the bottom that says Add Data. Right? So click on Add Data, and it adds. You can see it goes through that. Tells you that the data was added successfully, and for some versions, it will go into this screen where it now starts. It wants you to start building the actual dashboards. Right? So click Close. In some cases, if you have the older version of Click, go to the Data Manager. You will probably see a screen that looks like this. Huh? How many of you have a screen that looks like this? The Data Manager screen, as we call it. Is there anyone on this screen?
No.
Did you all manage to get into the Sheets page?
Yeah, sheet page like this.
Great. Fantastic. Can I see your Let me, yeah. Oh yeah, you have the same screen as we have here, right?
Okay, I'm going on the cloud version.
The cloud version, as we mentioned in the course page, is slightly different. You should get to the same result in the end.
I can't seem to be getting the regular version on my Mac.
No, Mac, unfortunately, it's only available for Windows. The desktop is only available for Windows. Yeah. So for the Mac, yes, the cloud, and the screens are slightly different, but generally you should be able to follow. Huh? Okay. So if you have your screen that looks like this, which is the data manager, then there's just one additional step that you need. Click on this to load the data. Let's load the data again, Fred.
I don't have that option.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
What we're trying to explain is for people who have an older version. Eh? So once they load the data, they will get edit the sheet. And they should get to the same screen. It's just different ways of getting to the same screen. Okay? For those of you with your applications working, were you able to get to the screen where it says edit the sheet? Okay, because this is where the fun part begins. This is where you see colors coming alive. Okay, I'm pausing just for a few minutes, just to establish. Anyone having trouble getting to the screen? Were you able to get there?
Did we do edit the sheet or just scroll?
Edit the sheet. Yeah. But even if you closed anyway, there is a series of buttons at the top right-hand corner. That's called the navigation button, the one that has like a little compass. So if you click on that, it gives you different options. Huh? So where we were loading the data from is called the data manager, right? There is a different screen here called the data load editor, but that comes later. It comes when you want to use like expressions to make your data more fancy. Like if you're doing it from different spreadsheets and you're trying to combine them, that also will do later. Same with model viewer to see how the tables look like. The screen that we are on where you're going to edit the sheet is in what we call the application or app overview. Huh? So if you're not in any one of the, if you're not in the edit the sheet screen, where you want to go is app overview, and then you look and you'll find that button to edit the sheet. Huh? Okay, so what you need to do is you need to click on add data at the bottom of your screen. Huh? Okay. All right. Yes, that looks promising. That's the edit the sheet screen. It looks you're ready to start. Okay. All right. What do the majority of people say? Press on. Continue.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, remember the data. There was a list of countries. There was a list of affected population, right? There was a list of reports and crises. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get what they call KPIs in Click, right? Sort of what we know as key performance indicators, meaning it's just a text box that gives you values, absolute values based on what you have filtered on, right? So the first thing we want to do is the spreadsheet had a lot of records and people who were affected population. How about if we want to see what that total number is and just put it as one number on the dashboard, right? Just to see how many people were affected, because it's kind of hard to read that from the spreadsheet, from the CSV file. What was that keyword that I said? Drag and drop. So you get, oh, by the way, what you have on the left here is called the assets panel. So if you hear me say assets panel, and we're going to see a different panel on this side that is called the sheet, the properties panel. The asset panel, if you make sure you have the icon for chart selected, it gives you the different option of the charts that you can see here, right? So you select KPI and drag it and drop it into the middle of the screen. It comes and fills the whole screen, that's fine. You can then resize it, maybe to about this. Give it like 5 boxes wide and 2 boxes high. Okay? And right now we haven't added anything. It's asking, what do you want to measure? What do you want to aggregate? What do you want to count? What do you want to sum? What do you want to sort of show the totals for? Right? So let's just look at that spreadsheet one more time. We want to look at affected population, but we want to get a total of all the affected population, right? So what do we want to do to these numbers? We want to sum them, right? We want to add them up, right? So if we go back to the, you click on Add Measure and look for affected population. And once you click on that, it's going to ask you, what do you want to do? You want to sum them, right? So click on Sum Affected Population, and you get a number. Okay? So what is the total affected population we're looking at?
421.
All right. All right. Now we want to do some fancy things here, right? Because it's giving us sort of like abbreviated numbers. We want to make it all because we want to see exact numbers, right? So now, if you select the actual chart that you've created, the visualization, you will get an option here known as the Properties panel, right? From there, if you select this sum of affected population, click on it, and you have different options. Let's go to the number formatting, and instead of it automatically deciding, give it the number, or tell it to select the number option, because now we want to sort of customize. So instead of it writing it, we wanted to write the full number. So we say number, and then in the formatting option here, since I don't think people are measured in 0.1, unless you're doing actual statistics, you put it as a whole number only. And now we have it here, right? Now, because we're going to create many KPIs, maybe we want to make this slightly smaller. Did you do that already? Okay. Maybe you want to make this a little smaller, even if it doesn't quite fit on your screen. And from there, again, as long as you have this selected, you'll see it selected because you have the orange line around it. You look for the appearance. There's the options here, the panels that open and close. You look for appearance, and you go under presentation. And for this particular one, it allows you to put a slightly smaller font size. This is optional. Just do it just to make it all fit on there. Okay? And now it's showing you exactly how many people are affected, or the total sum of the affected population, right? If you want to make this a little more pretty, this probably, using the word sum in a professional dashboard doesn't quite look nice, right? So we want to give it a nice title, or a nice label, right? While it's still selected, if you went into the properties of the particular application, sorry, the particular chart, and you click on that, it has an option for you putting your own label. If you don't put a label, it's going to take whatever the expression that you just used is before. So here I type, under the label type, affected population. Okay? And press the Enter key. Just press the Enter button. And that should change to that. So do we know anything additional about that spreadsheet now? Do we have any analysis? If someone asks you, you can quickly tell them how many people have been affected based on all the numbers in the reports from the different organizations, right? Any questions? How are we doing?
Up to speed.
Ah, great. All right. So you're actually encouraging me. Shall we move faster? Am I moving too slow? Am I moving too slow, by the way?
No, I think.
If you want me to move faster, just do this, and I'll understand.
There's a question from online.
A question online?
Yes. how to get the sheet properties panel.
How to get the sheet properties panel? So if you don't select any particular chart itself, and you selected just the sheet, okay? If nothing is selected, then it automatically goes into the sheet properties panel, right? Because if nothing is selected, that means the whole sheet is now affected. And later on, what you can do it now if you like. One of the things you can do is each time you create a new sheet, it automatically gives it my new sheet, right? You can change that under the sheet properties panel here and type, for example, summary, because that's what we want to do here. So Fred type summary, and it changes it there. So that's the sheet properties panel. You can do other things like put in icons, but that's something that we'll probably cover in a different training course. Okay. So we have affected population. How about we get how many countries are affected by this, right? So go back to the data again. Huh? Remember we said that the records are how many? Just scroll down to the bottom. There are 404, right?
400. Oh, yeah.
I think. Yeah, 405 minus the heading.
Yeah.
So 404 records, and some countries are repeated, Syria, Syria, Syria. So we want to just get the unique number of countries that are affected by this, right? How are we going to do that? Does anyone want to come up and tell us how to do it? Just kidding. No, but by the end of this, I will expect each one of you to come up and tell me how to do it, and actually physically do it. Huh? Deal?
Yeah.
No? Yes? Don't worry, you'll gain the courage once we're done. You'll see how easy it is. All right, so again, we're going to use a KPI. And what's the magic word? Drag and drop. So let's drag and drop. Drag and drop a KPI.
Does KPI stand for?
It stands for Key Performance Indicator. So it's just a number that usually shows you an absolute value, right? For some particular set of numbers that you're trying to look at, or that you're trying to monitor and watch, to make sure you either go, you don't exceed, or you don't go below. So maybe after you drag it, try and do a little practice in terms of see if you can put it as a box here. Just drag it and drop it and resize and hold the edges and the corners such that the box is located on that little area there. Again, you probably just want to make it 5 boxes wide because we have a few more that we're going to work with here. Maybe take this down by one box so that there's enough space, and make this one and push it that way. All right. So what did we say we want to do here? Someone help me? I forgot. Countries. Oh, countries. Yeah. So again, in this case, do we sum countries? What do we do? We count them, right? Okay. So click on Add Measure. Look for country. And what do you want to do with the countries this time? We want to count them, right?
Yeah.
So click on Count. And we have a number. Is that correct?
No.
What's wrong?
It is counting in a repetitive kind.
It's counting them over and over again, right? So what do we want to do to this? In English, why is the number 404 instead of the correct number? Yes.
Yeah.
We want to eliminate duplications. We want to just count the unique number of countries. Huh? So this is where you might have to type something, but it's not much. In this application called Click, what you do is when you count, you give it the word distinct after count, and it'll understand that you want to just count the unique number of countries. Huh? So if you select it, and then under the properties panel of that KPI, if you open up that panel, under where the expression is, you can just type the word distinct. You have to spell it correctly. Yeah?
So you put count.
Then inside the brackets, you put the word distinct. And press the Enter key. Because there's a typo. There's a small typo. So here's what we'll do. Fred, just take it out. Yeah, because sometimes this screen might be too small. There's a button here that opens up the whole expression editor. So if you click on this button that says FX, click on it, right? And you see the word count here, right? Now, whatever keyword values or whatever functions that you're trying to do are shown in blue. The field that you're trying to work on is shown in orange. If it's in a different color, then you know you're making a mistake, right? So inside there, you type the word distinct and put a space, and it should be blue in color. If it's green or black, that means there's a small typo. Just type the word distinct and make sure that it's colored blue. That's one way to quickly check and make sure that it's correct. That's expression editor. You click on the apply button at the bottom right hand of the page. And you should get the number 23. Are we all there?
So it's count, open parenthesis, doesn't see all the way.
Oh, okay.
Count, open parenthesis, distinct.
Yes.
Country.
Yes. A space between distinct and country. Yes. Okay. So there are 23 distinct countries that are affected here. All right. How are we doing for time?
It's 12:40.
Okay. All right. If you've done this, you can change the label. Do you remember how to change the label here? Make it just countries. Yeah.
Where do you find the keywords for those expressions?
So there's a whole online help.
There's no
Click.
lookup or anything in the application?
There is. There is a lookup, right? You want to show it how it works? Just if you start typing the word, there's a type ahead that looks for all the fields and all the functions. I think it works here too, but okay, that's fine. Yeah, but most of the time, there are things like distinct that are so common that after a while, you just get to learn them. Okay, change the label. Okay.
Countries.
For countries, yeah, countries. Let's be correct. Okay. Then the other thing we want to do is, remember we said that there was organizations which was the source of the data, right? Let's find out how many organizations those are. But in this case, we'll do something different to make things faster. Instead of drag and drop, you copy and paste. So right-click on countries, copy, and right-click on paste. That's another way. I'm just showing you a different way of doing it. You might as well drag and drop, right? And you have the same countries here again, right? And then when you have that, you go and edit, and instead of country, open up the expression editor so that it's easier for them to see, right? Delete the word country. Just delete just the word country.
Can you tell us how to open that expression?
So go back, cancel. So once you select the KPI, under the properties panel for this particular visualization, there is a little orange button there that says effects. That's the expression editor. That's for you to put in an expression here to make count what you're looking for. Right? So if you click on it, it will open up the expression editor. And this time we want to count sources of information, not countries. So just delete the word country. Remember, because we copy and pasted this one. And on your left-hand side, your right-hand side, look at the fields and select report sources. I think that was what we called it, report source.
Report source, yeah.
Right? So once you select it, make sure report source is selected here. Yeah. You have to click on insert when your cursor is there. So first click here and make sure that your cursor is there. Don't move too fast. You're too fast for me, Fred. Make sure your cursor is inside the bracket, right? Make sure report source is selected. Then click insert. right? And again, a quick check is because it's a field, it should be in this orange, brownish color. And click on apply. Okay? And then, because we copied country, the label was also copied. So you want to change that label and make it
Organization.
sources, report sources.
Different number than here.
Okay. What number do you have?
174.
Okay. What could be 174?
That's like no idea.
Okay. All right. So make some space and let's do one more for crisis category. Yeah? Remember there was a list of categories that were also listed there. So again, copy and paste. And this time I'll let you do what you need to do. Report sources, huh? So
You have to put distinct sources or report sources. Is there an
you have to distinct report source is one word, eh? Because it's coming from the column that we had originally inserted. Eh? This is one word. Eh? So can you put up the spreadsheet? Can you yeah zoom in? I think on the view. Eh? So it's called report source, huh? As you see on the screen. Huh? Okay? All right. So have we been able to do the one for crisis category? What number do we have?
2007.
Be bold, just say it, just say it. You're right. Yes, you're correct. You see how easy it is? I know you couldn't believe that you had done it so easily and it came with the correct answer, but that's the correct answer. Okay, and what do we want to do? You make sure that the label is, again, labeled correctly, crisis category. When you copy and paste, it copies everything. Eh? So you have to go back and edit and make sure that do it correctly. If you don't want, you can actually drag and drop and put in all the details yourself. Right? So you want to change the label? Not that, not there. And the label, crisis category. Yeah? Okay, so those are our big numbers. Those are the numbers that this data is all about, right? Sorry?
Crisis category is also 24.
No,
274.
274. So something is wrong with our data, right?
Crisis.
No, first report source.
You haven't changed the
Here,
view.
report source, insert and apply. Okay, it's here, right?
Yeah.
So now this is the report source. And it disappeared. Disappear.
I think it's capital C in both cases, right? Right.
So let me resize it to here. And the moment I do
Yes, when you're calling the field name, yes, it's dependent. It matters because it's looking for an actual column name. Okay, those are the big numbers that we have, right? Shall we do a bar chart? See how it looks like.
Then what is the next level?
So let's look at the different sources, OCHA, UNHCR, and let's see where most of our reports are coming from. Huh? So we get a bar chart and we drag and drop it here. Okay, and the bar chart will give you two options, right? It wants to know what dimension you're looking at, meaning what field are we going to try and aggregate on. And the field that we said we want to aggregate on is the sources. We want to know OCHA or UNHCR, how many reports are coming from each one of them, right? So under dimension, we choose report source, right? Any questions? Report source, right? And for each one of these, what are we looking for? We're looking for the number of reports, the count of reports that they each one of them submitted, right? So under the add measure, if you click on it, you look for the index, right? No, sorry, we're looking for the number of reports, right? So each one is a report, right? Each line is a report. And each one was denoted by an index from 1 to 444, right? So we want to count this, right? So you click on the index and you count. And magically you get a bar chart. Do you have what you see on the screen? Where are most of the reports coming from?
UNHCR.
Okay. So we're starting to get a feel of that data in the spreadsheet now, right? It's starting to make a lot more sense, right? If someone asked us, we can quickly give an analysis of what that data is about and where most of the reports are coming from, the things that we're looking at, right? So a few things you can do with tables. If you like, you can turn this bar chart the other way, especially when there are a lot of organizations, to show it better. At the bottom here, you have what you call the scroll bar that shows the whole chart, because some of it is taken up by the screen. I'm talking about this because we're going to talk about it later, yeah? Just so that for you to be able to see. Yeah? But generally, maybe let's do this. Let's turn this around quickly so that you see if it makes any sense, if it makes it look better. So, and make sure you've selected the bar chart and click on Appearance under the Properties panel. And under Presentation, Appearance, Presentation, you choose the orientation and make it like a vertical. No, is that horizontal? Yeah, make it horizontal. And it's the same chart but shown in a horizontal fashion. Okay? I think there's more things you could do to beautify, but because of time, let's move on to the next one. Okay? We want to do a map now, right? Because we're talking about countries, why don't we put it on a map, because that's a different way of visualizing the data, all right? So we go back to the Assets panel and the Charts and get the map visualization, drag and drop it to the middle, and add dimension. What dimension do you think we should add here? Let's do country. ISO maybe, because we just introduced it. It would work, yeah.
Does it recognize?
It doesn't recognize?
I mean, does it recognize ISO?
Yes, it will recognize country, but if you really want to be accurate, right? Just in case there's, in our case, we have 23 countries, it should be fine, right? So let's just use countries, but you could use ISO as well. Huh? So country, and it shows you the countries that are part of this report, the affected countries on the map, right? Yes, that's the next thing we're doing. You read my mind. All right, so we want to put a background here, okay? So make sure the map is selected, the map visualization, and go and select the background from the properties panel. And background, it's currently put us off the show, turn it on. And you should find the background map. So this software, by default, comes with the background that it gets from OpenStreetMap, because that's where you get open source mapping data that's given to you as a background. Huh? But especially the UN, we try and be careful with this, because if you're using this to show official UN data, sometimes the boundaries and the names of the countries might not match what you find there. So we've been working with the cartographic section here in the UN, and they have developed a background map that is conforming to the UN standards of how countries and borders, countries should be named and where all the borders are. So if you're going to use this for UN data, I suggest that you use the background map from the cartographic section. So
how can we access that map?
You read my mind. So what we're going to do now, the next exercise, is for us to be able to change that. I had sent the second link as part of the data. That was one line that looked a bit confusing. HTTP something with $signs. You remember it? Mm-hmm. Let's put it up on the screen. Can you zoom? Yes.
Yeah, there's a question from Tamar Preet online. Can we label the name of the countries on the map?
there are more advanced mapping modules that come with Click that we're not showing. The basic one now that we have, if you want, the way to label the countries is when you hover over each one of them, you will see that the country name will be displayed. And we're going to show that in a minute. But if you want them as part of the background map, that is not done here. That's given to you by the background that we're actually just about to do right now. Okay? All right. So I want you to copy and paste this link. The one you should have it as part of your data, part of the downloads that you use. Okay?
Where?
Pardon?
So I copied it. Where do you paste it?
I'm about to go through that step. All right. So once you've copied this, let's go back to the Click visualization that we're working on. And where it says Map Service under the Properties panel, turn off the automatic button. Okay? And then for the type of map, you want to just leave it as what you see there, sleepy map. Huh? Okay? And it has a box for URL. Paste that link in here. And press the Enter key. Yeah? And you should have the cartographic section background map now showing there. Okay? Do we all have it?
Yeah.
And for the question that was asked by Tamar online, the name was Tamar?
Tamar.
Tamar?
He said, okay, thank you.
Yes. You can see that the background, in the background map, depending on the service that you're getting it from, and when you zoom in and out, it normally shows the names of the countries there. But that's dependent on the service that's coming from. And if you hover your mouse over each one of those, it should show you each country, but this is coming from the data that was actually in the spreadsheet. Huh? Okay? So we have a map and we have affected countries, yeah? Let's make this map a bit more interesting, okay? We're going to create what is called a heat map. Huh? Heat map means that when you see the map itself, it's going to show different shades of color depending on where there's more of an intensity. So in our case, we want to see which country has a bigger number of affected population. Okay? So if a country has more numbers of people who are affected by whatever crisis we have selected, it will show in a darker color. The less the affected population, the lighter the color. Okay? So because we're using colors, we're going to go into the color of the property panel. We're going to go into the color settings. Huh? All right? So select the map, make sure the map is selected again. Properties panel, choose appearance. And under appearance, there's the color and legends option. So you choose that as well and turn off automatic coloring. Yeah? It's set to auto. So turn that off. And where it says single color, because that's what it's doing, it's just giving you one single color. Let's say we want to do it differently. So there's a drop-down list. Choose, we want to measure how we color the thing, meaning where there's a greater measure, we want to color it differently from where there's a less of a measure. So we select by measure. And remember we said we wanted to use the number of people, huh? The sum of the affected population. Huh? So where it says you select the measure, there's a little drop-down widget there. Choose affected population. And we want to do what? We want to? Sum, right? Okay? All right. And you can make the label here different, huh? If you like. Huh? Just do it quickly. All right. So just press the Enter key. Now, let's just take a step back and look at the data. Any insight? Anything you can see in the whole screen? Does this tell you about what's going on?
How to
So you just you zoom. You know, you click the mouse. Do you have the? Okay. So what you do? Click on done first. And then, yeah, you can paint and zoom more. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then click on edit if you want to make changes. Okay? What's the insight here? If you don't tell me, I'm going to have to pick on someone in the crowd. I'm just going to look and pick someone to say.
Yemen has the highest.
Okay? Yemen is actually the most affected, right? Hover your mouse over Yemen. All right. So one thing, the click, you have both the edit mode and the presentation mode or the view mode. Most people who are analyzing the data will look at it in what you call the presentation mode, right? So you had a button, the orange button here that says done. If you click on edit, you get into the edit mode. When it's on edit mode, you click on done, it goes into the presentation mode. Okay? And then if you hover your mouse like over Yemen, it shows you the numbers of people. Huh? And one thing that you can do is you can select a particular country, and all the numbers here will be filtered based on the selection you made. So this on top here, the selections bar, keeps a track of whatever it is that you've selected, right? And what you see is one that is selected. Of course, countries is one because you've just selected one country. The sources are coming from 7 different organizations, and the types of categories are 15, right? If you want to remove that, then you just press the X button next to each filter. So you see the way you can start analyzing the data quickly. How about if you want to see WHO? If you select WHO from the graph, right? The sources, of course, is 1. It shows you the affected population, and then it's showing you the countries most affected. And I think from the map there, you can see that it seems like Rwanda is where most of no, sorry, Burundi, I'm sorry. The map was small. Is where most of the crisis that they're reporting on comes from. Huh? Yes, another question.
Yeah, a question from Susmit Patil. Is there any way to increase the size of our working canvas?
No, unfortunately, no. The real estate is limited. And one way to increase that is to create another sheet, which we're going to look at in a minute. But the width and the length, the number of boxes you have, is sort of standard with this current version of Click. Okay? All right. Let's do a trend. Let's do a trend really quickly. How much time do we have?
It's 1 o'clock now.
Oh, okay. I think we're doing well. The class has caught up. Everyone's so fast now, so I can relax a little bit. All right. Now, go back into the edit mode. And it's okay. Whether the filter is there or not, that's fine. Take off the filter if you'd like, if you just want to see the data. But we're designing right now. Now, let's drag, let's make this, the map and the bar chart a little smaller. So we create some space at the bottom here to put in a line chart. Okay, make it a bit bigger, so otherwise the line chart won't show. Yes, maybe that much, and the other one as well. Okay, so for the line chart, let's see what the trend of the affected population is over the years. So remember that each one of the reports that we had a date, and it had the number of affected population. So let's sum it by like a particular month, going all the way from the beginning of the data, the one with the earliest, to the one with the latest, and see whether there's a trend. Are the affected people, is the affected population becoming larger, or is it becoming smaller, or is there anything else that we can infer from the data? Okay, so for this we use a line chart, and remember when it asks you for dimensions, what dimension would you like to give it? So first of all, what is the measure? What are we going to aggregate? The number of, or the sum of? Population. The sum of the population, right? Right? And you want to do it over?
Period.
Yes, we'll choose months, right? Yeah. So if you drag and drop the line chart, you have dimension and you have measure. So for dimension, we can choose date, but dates are going to be very too fine detail, too fine grained. Let's select month. So under there, you're going to find an option under the date, report date. You're going to find an option that says year, month, meaning it already aggregates the dates into months and a year. 2016, December, 2017, January, going on that way.
I did not get
Year, month.
No. It just went to the year.
No, if you cancel that and go back. Yeah.
There's error in the data, like for example, the country name is wrong or the date format is wrong.
Yes. There are ways to work around it, and you can actually script. Each one, what we showed you, remember the beginning where we drag and drop the data? It actually created load scripts. So there's more advanced training where we tell you how to model the data and how to actually make changes.
I mean, for example, the country, say Belgium,
yes.
Not written in English but in French.
Yes. So in that case,
how is there be a message or an error?
No, because the data, it's not able to know. Okay. But if you look at the data and it doesn't make any sense, for example, in the case where we saw the countries were not being counted distinct, it's up to you to analyze and try and see whether there's an issue. Right? And then, like for the case in Belgium, you can use the ISO code instead. Okay. Because those, whether it's in French or in English, is the same code. Yeah. But the times it gives you errors is if there is a calculation error, if it can't do, or if you type something wrongly. But if it finds it in the data, and the data itself is not correct, that error will also show in the visualization. Okay, so do we have the year month as dimension?
Yeah.
And what do we use for the measure?
Affected population.
What do we want to do to affected population?
Sum.
We want to sum it. Is everyone in agreement? Who says count? No one? Okay, you're all right. Okay, affected population, we want to sum it. Okay, so let's sum, and there we go. What do we see? What's going on in our world today? Okay, the affected population keeps increasing. Okay, now, if you look at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see this little line, which I explained to you before was the scroll bar, right? And sometimes what people have found is that this scroll bar can confuse you. It can look like a different graph if you don't understand it. So it's fine to leave it there. And in this case, it doesn't make any sense because you're seeing the whole line, the whole span. So you don't need a scroll bar, okay? And there is no actual button to remove that scroll bar, but there are ways in which you can do it by deselecting some automatic options. So let's do that just for you to understand. You don't need to do that. I mean, you can leave it on. If you don't understand what's going on, that's fine. I'm just showing you something that you can use in your toolbox to make your graphs more understandable and less cluttered. Because this, I found, from my experience, a lot of people get confused. They wonder what it is, whether it's another graph that's showing something different. So select the line chart. And under the appearance, if you go down, we want to take off some automatic options under the x-axis. So where it says x-axis, where its report is the date, year, month, there is a continuous option there where it's labeled as auto, where it's selected auto. Uncheck that. We want to make it custom. And there's a checkbox that says use continuous scale. Just take that out. If you take that out, then this disappears. So now you have no scroll bar at the bottom. It's much more clear. It's just one trend line chart. Okay? You understand?
Now it has.
Yes, you read my mind. We're going to talk about that different. Now, because we've taken off that continuous scale, a lot of things Click tries to do automatically, and it was trying to do the sorting automatically now. So now, what it's trying to do is that it's sorting by the number of affected population, rather than sorting by time. So we want to actually go into the sorting option and change that to make it sort by the year month. So again, if you find it's not sorting correctly, when you select that line chart, go into the options, the second option here of sorting, and under the first option, which is year month, select that and remove the automatic sorting. All right? And then say, sort it numerically. And you want to sort it ascending because you want the earliest one to come faster. So you select the ascending from the drop-down box, and you should come back to what we had before. And then, just to make things more readable here, under this same properties panel, if you went into appearance, you can select the option to show data points so that it shows each one of those data points. And you also select value labels so that it shows the numbers on the chart. Just extra things to make it look more. Yeah, what was the description of click that was given at the beginning of the class to make it more beautiful? Was that the word? Do you agree? Are we living up to that expectation?
That's good.
All right.
Looks too busy now.
Yeah, it does. Too many things. That's another thing that you should be able to work out. If things look too busy and we're trying to put too much on one page, you create other sheets such that you can put other things on the other sheet. What we're doing now is we're just trying to give you as much of a range as possible. But you can absolutely put each one of these charts in a different page, in a different sheet.
Is there the possibility, for example, this one where right now it has the numbers for each of the months? Let's say you just want to draw attention to, I don't know, March 2017 and December 2017. So you just want those two numbers?
Yeah.
Is there that kind of customization? Can you do that?
You want a range, from March.
So you have a range,
yeah,
but you don't want all of the numbers. You see, right now you have all of the numbers by each month.
Yes.
But it looks very busy to have underneath the months and then then the numbers. So you just wanted to, because you just want to talk about a certain month, just have one, have that number.
So just click on done here. And under there, where you see the months, select one particular month. Just select a month, like 2017 June. When you select, it filters the data all for that just 1 month. Okay. Another thing you can do, if you go back to edit, let's make some space here. You can create a filter, just a single line. So there are two ways to do this. There is a filter pane, right, where you put in a filter pane. So let's put in a filter pane. I'll show you both of methods. A filter pane, and then select year month. So if you drag and drop a filter pane and you add the dimension, let's add the dimension year month. Okay, and you can even make it smaller, such that it doesn't. If you like, you can. We normally put it that way. And now, if you click on done, you can actually select just a particular month that you'd like. That's another way. Yeah. There's another way to create a filter. Let's say we just want to create a filter for countries. Under the asset panel here, instead of charts, you select fields, right? And when you have the fields and you get country, for example, just drag country here. It does the same thing, right? And maybe, Fred, what you want to do is you want to change the label here so that people understand. Just make it month or whatever, the title, the label. Okay? So this way you can create as many filters as you want and helps you to quickly analyze the data. So addition to just looking at the month, how about if you want to look at the January 2017 for Burundi only? You can select both of them quickly, see what you want, take it out, put in another country, and be able to analyze it that way. Yeah? Okay. All right. How are we doing for time?
Sorry, the country is
112.
Okay. The view, the final view.
Yeah. You click on done.
It's a list.
It's a list based on the distinct countries that came from your data. Okay. It's not just going to bring a list of countries from. Okay, so it's just the ones that are currently inside your data.
Selected.
Currently loaded in your data. Yes.
And there's no way to just, I don't know, search for a specific.
Yeah, you can. So under country, Fred, just search for Burundi, for example. BURU, and type ahead and yes. Yes. Okay.
We wanted to see the continuous scale. How you do it now.
Okay, so let's go back. The continuous scale. I think I did that a bit too quickly. Yeah? So if you edit, go back into the edit mode and select and the line chart, the properties panel. Choose appearance, and under the appearance, you scroll all the way down until you get the x-axis. The x-axis is what we're trying to work with. And we want to remove all the automatic mode. So under continuous, it's set to auto, turn it to custom. And then once you've done that, there's a checkbox for use continuous scale. Uncheck that. And now you are not going to be using the continuous scale anymore. So it's going to get rid of the scroll bar at the bottom. And then you have to go and sort the data because it won't be sorted correctly. Yeah? Okay. Practice. All right. Okay. Let's create a details table. Let's create another sheet, and let's create records. You would like to see the details of this records in a tabular format. So what we're going to do is under your toolbar, this navigation, these are called the navigation bars, where it says summary, unless you didn't change this and it says my new sheet, that's a drop-down box that shows you all the sheets that you have on your visualization right now. If you click on it, it gives you an option to create a new sheet, and it also shows you all your sheets that you have right now. It should be one. So if you click on create new sheet and give it a name, a title like default, details, and you hit the enter button, you should have a second sheet that says details. And if you click on it, it gives you a new empty sheet like what we started with earlier. Now in this case, we want to fill this whole sheet with a table that's going to show all the columns of the data. All right? So assets panel, make sure charts is selected, and then look for table and drag it all the way in there. Drag and am I just saying this, or do you actually believe me that it's drag and drop? I feel like I'm saying it, but there's some reservation. Yes? No?
No.
Okay. All right. So we just want to add columns. It'll look like the spreadsheet, right? First thing we want to add is country. Add country. Or date. Let's add country. Just add country as a dimension. And it shows the countries, yeah? Next, you want to add, which is the next one we want to add? Click on add dimension and let's look. Let's look at our data. Add column. So once you add one, then that little box disappears, and if you want to add more columns, it gives you the option here. So if you add a dimension, let's add category. You want to see the different categories. And it comes as a second column. And then go back to add column, add a dimension, and let's add reporting source, report source. The organizations where the reports came from, right? And let's add another column, and let's add date, report date. In this case, you just want to do report date, not year month, so that it actually does the actual date for each one.
So what we're adding report date, right?
Yeah, report date.
Data.
Report date.
No, I don't have that.
You should see it with a little calendar-like looking icon. Any other column? So let's add a measure. Let's add affected population, but add it as a measure, meaning it sums it. So if you click add measure, then choose affected population, and because it's a measure, it's going to ask what do we do? You sum it.
No, sum of it.
Right? And to make it look a bit more formatted, remember how we formatted the numbers earlier? Instead of it automatically formatting, you can select number, and select that it doesn't have any decimal points. And then maybe you want to label it as affected population so that it doesn't look like sum of affected population under the labels. All right? And then let's do one more. Let's add, you remember there was a URL in the data?
Yeah.
Let's add that as well. Huh? So under dimension, add, go to report URL, somewhere at the bottom, and add report URL. Now, report URL is interesting. You can tell Click to represent this either as text, or if it's a link, if it recognizes that it's a link because it says HTTP something, automatically give it to you as a link. Huh? So once you have report URL selected, if you went down to representation, okay, there's a drop-down button there. Change it from text to URL. Okay. We're good?
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what we've done. Right? So this is your details. These are your details of all the 404 reports. The same ones that came from the spreadsheet, right? So, for example, if you clicked on one of them, it should open up, on a different screen. It should open up the actual report that was related to that link. Huh? So this way we've taken advantage of what someone already did and just put it quickly on a chart for you. Okay?
To the website.
You read my mind. That was going to be the next thing I say. So let's do this. Let's go back and let's see how many UNICEF reports were done in March of 2017. I'm just getting this off the top of my head. So navigate back to the summary page. Okay? And how do we, what did I just say? What do we want to do? We want to filter for reports that were submitted by UNICEF, right? So select UNICEF, right there, and the green check mark. And oh, they actually, how many reports are there? Not that many, yeah. And let's do them for May 2017. Okay, so on your filter bar, we have two filters. Only UNICEF and only for the month of 2017. So let's go back to our details data, navigate to the details data, and see how many things we have. We only have one, right? Let's take off 2017 as a filter. You can do this on the fly. Then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? Now, once you've filtered the data that you're looking for, and you want to export, you right-click, and you export the data. Click, you can export it as an image, or you want to export the data. It downloads it as an Excel file. Huh? So if you click on it, we should open an Excel file somewhere. Did you click? Yeah, go to the bottom. It's downloading the file. There it is. Double click on that. Okay, and there is your data exported. Huh? Were you able to find the same thing? Okay. Excellent.
Can we have the whole report on the website?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, not the Excel. I mean the dashboard that we made. Publish it.
Yes. So with a few caveats, huh? Let's go through that, and let's go back to Click. Go back to the first page. So if you want to do this, you can export it as an image or as a PDF, or you can do them based on each particular chart by themselves. Huh? If you do the whole page, generally it doesn't show filters. It only shows what you've done here.
Like the map, let's say, publish it on the web.
Yeah, so right click and export as an image or as a PDF.
Okay, not that I cannot give the dynamic.
Okay. All right. So let me explain. So what we have done is we have created a whole visualization dashboard, right? It's been done and it's been stored in one file, which Click calls a QVF file. Huh? So like the way you have an Excel file, huh? Think of it that way, right? Now it contains all your data, it contains all the visualization and other things like expressions and scripts that we've done, right? Now this is stored in your My Documents folder. If you go to My Documents folder, you go to Click, Sends, Apps, I think that's the hierarchy of the folder. You're going to find all the apps there. So in this case, we named it Humanitarian. That file, if you email it to someone else and they have Click installed, then they'll be able to look at all the work that you've done. It's going to be just as they imagine.
Not do a public like on Power BI.
What you can do is you can take it to the Click cloud,
Okay.
and you can actually publish it there in a public space like that.
Can you put shortcuts on like SharePoint or something like that? Shortcuts to the app.
Shortcuts to the app?
You put a shortcut or a button on SharePoint that anyone can click on to go to the app and open.
Well, you can, but you need to publish Click View somewhere. Where will the shortcut point to? If it's pointing to, if there is an actual place that it's published on the line, online, yes, you could. So you can actually link it there. What I'm saying is that if you have the file on your desktop, you can't automatically put a shortcut. You need to publish it somewhere first. Then you put a shortcut to wherever you publish it on.
And do the people who access it have to have a big account, or is it public access?
I think Click Cloud is public. There's a public and there's one that you can actually publish it as public.
Yeah, so there are a number of ways to share it. So first of all, you can share it as if it were an Excel file. So you can send it to your team and anybody can run it in their machine. Second is that you can install it on a UN server. So anybody in the UN intranet can access that. And you can put a password protection there, so only your department or your section or your unit could access that. Then you can put it on a public server that the UN has, in which you can put a dashboard for your department for the entire world to see without any kind of password. This is for a public website. And for example, the Department of Political Affairs and DESA, the Security Council Affairs Division, use it to publish their annual Security Council statistics. And the DESA Statistics Division use it for their gender statistics portal. So this is for general public interactive dashboards. And then if you want to share just with a small team for practical reasons, you can use Click Cloud, which allows you to share it with a password or to the public, just a few free ones.
So there are many options.
Okay, just to clarify, for publishing, for those servers, they have to send the right?
The way it is right now. So we have Click servers, we have the Click infrastructure, where we currently publish Click applications that people do. If you would like them to be published, you send them to us, the actual QVF files, and we will publish them for you. And as Jorge mentioned, we can make it public such that it's seen by everyone, or it can actually be restricted to a few of your colleagues that you can work with. Okay. How are we doing for time?
It's 1:26, so
okay.
We should wrap it up.
Excellent. Yeah.
I just had a question. I learned that if we have it linked to a website and then you change the information, you can make it so that it uploads the new information.
Absolutely.
That works with what we're doing. So if we add in a new country, like Myanmar,
or new data,
yes. New data from the country, it'll, we don't have to start again. It could like pull the data.
What you do is, in this case, Fred, could you go to the data load editor or the data manager? Right? So where we were before, when we're in this location, as long as you put the file in the same place that it was before, you click on load data and it loads the latest data. Okay? So as long as the file is still in the same place, right? And when you put it on the server, you can even automate this such that it automatically happens. You can set it to happen every week, every day, every hour, if your data is really dynamic. Okay, so the answer to your question is yes, absolutely, you can update the data. Okay?
So the dashboards that, I mean, I haven't gone into the site, but they're out.
Yeah.
but they were created with clicks. The ones
Yes.
that they're on the public website.
Yes, there's a gender statistics website. There's one for Comtrade, and as Jorge mentioned, there's also one that we did for the Security Council Affairs Division of DPA, where they publish the Security Council meetings that happened over the years.
Just to see how it looks.
Yes.
For you.
Yes, those are all of it.
So the view that you see is at one of the sheets?
Yeah, so yes, absolutely. You can see one of the sheets, but you can actually get more advanced, and you can include it in a different website that you create. And then you put it as a widget there into something called web mashups. Huh? Yeah, and that's more advanced click applications, but yes, in the end, the thing that's powering the chart that's showing you is a click chart. Huh? So are you going to put, yeah, let me be closing as you put some of the websites up. Huh? Yeah. So we have come to the end. We're really cognizant of time because we know that you probably have to go back. So there's no rush, absolutely. We're still here to answer all your questions. But what we want to do is we want to thank you. And if by the level of applause, I want to see whether you actually felt that this was a good cause or not, whether it was actually helpful or not. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we are available. We have a Unite Analytics community where you can become part of that and you can become a member. It's in Unite Connections, and we normally communicate things like the next training, and we can answer questions from there. And you can find a lot of resources on as well. And tell your friends, tell your colleagues. We try and hold this. The next one's going to be in January. We're going to announce the date a little later on. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much.
Thank you.
And hope to see you soon again. Happy clicking. So this is one of the sites.